Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as Erik ten Hag faces a block on Harry Kane, but it's full steam ahead for Mason Mount. Also, sticking with London, Fred could be heading to Fulham. He's surplus to requirements as United look to move Fred on and keep Scott McTominay. We'll also talk about this Qatar potential bid that's going to go in, a new bid, and where we are in relation to the sale for Manchester United. Quite a lot going on, quite a lot to get into. So let's fly straight into it. I'm going to start off with the story on Fred. So I thought Fred played really well yesterday. I think he's got to play in the final. But look, the story is, and look, it started with a kiss. It started with a rumour yesterday evening, that Marco Silva, the Fulham coach, had actually come off the bus for Fulham to go and speak to Fred in the car park. A photo surfaced of this actual story. So Fulham are eager to take Fred to Manchester United, to Fulham next season. I think, you know what, Connor, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I actually think Fred would be, if you look at how well Andreas Pereira has done, I think Fred in a Fulham shirt, you could see it happening, couldn't you? And you could see him doing really well at Fulham. I mean, Fred is not good enough to start for Manchester United or Arsenal or Manchester City. That's just not, he's a bench player for those players. But he starts for people like Everton. He starts for people like Fulham. And he starts, and I think it's with 1 year left on his deal, it's an intelligent deal. Willian's already there. I don't know whether Willian's staying another year, but Pereira is there. So they've got some Brazilian connections. It's London-based. Somebody just said that would be for him finding his level, says United BT. And then there's two ways of looking at this. Thinking about selling Fred when you want him to play in the FA Cup final, I get that. But actually, thinking about next season, do you want Fred to be playing next year? And I think, actually, if we're looking at midfielders like we are, then Fred moving on, it's probably the right time. You can still be a really important player this week, and then it's bye-bye in the summer. That's what big clubs do. Look at Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. Zinchenko, Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, very important players for Manchester City in winning titles, lets them go to other clubs to bring other players in. This is something that we as a fan base need to get into our mindset. It's called progression. It's not always logical that you sell crap players. Sometimes you sell players that you like because you want something better. That's how you get better. That's how you go from 75 points to 85 points. That's how you go from third to second or first. That's how you go from winning FA Cups and Carabao Cups to winning, getting to Champions League finals. So it's just pure progression. And with Fred 1 year left on his deal, I can see this happening, whether it's Fulham or something else. I can see it happening because why would you give him a new contract with 1 year left on his deal? Bit off topic, but I was just wondering if the 5 teams Champions League spot starts next season. Yes, it does, Nathan. Welcome to the Members Club, Dewey. Hi, Mark. Fred and Paulina would be a nuisance to play against. Let's try and get 25 million for him. What do you think would be a good sum to get for Fred? Jack, you're almost reading my mind. How much do you think we would get for Fred? Fred is 10 times the player McTominay will ever be. It's okay to sell Fred, but if we can buy a better squad player, but then keeping McTominay makes 0 sense. Araki, we'll talk about that in a moment. How much, we've got quite a lot to get in through on this 2 o'clock show as well, so make sure you subscribe and smash a like. It's going to be hectic from now on until the start of the season, I think. A lot of people are saying 30 million. I think Lee has got it absolutely spot on. If we can get 20 million, we've done really, really well. He's got 1 year left on his deal. You ain't going to get 30 million. I think if you can get 20 million, that's a good deal. Maybe even 15. I don't know. I'd put it somewhere between 15 and 25. I don't think you're getting any more than 25, and I think that's top end. And I think anything lower than 15 is ridiculous. Transfer market has Fred valued at 20 million, says Jack. Yeah, I don't trust transfer market. But no, I think anywhere between 15 and 25 million would be a good deal for a player. And look, I wasn't expecting money for Fred. When I've looked at the summer transfer window, I always go Henderson 25, Maguire 30, McTominay 30, Brandon Williams, Twansebi, Bay. If you can get 20 million for Fred, it's a nice little bit. It's a nice little sum, isn't it? It's another 100 grand a week off the wages as well. Weghorst, Maguire, McTominay, Fred, and Martial all out in the summer would be fantastic, says C. Yeah. Well, look, we'll have to wait and see. But Fred, I think that surprised me. But then it's the most logical, quick deal you can do. It'd be a good deal for Fulham. It'd be a good deal for us. And obviously it creates a space in the midfield. Could you do a swap deal for Palhinha, says Rob? You could. I don't think you would. Did you see the 23-24 kit, says Glazers out? I did. I don't like it because TeamViewer is still the sponsor, but they've changed their bloody logo, so it's a much bigger logo now. Chronix, thank you very much. But also, I think it was from the Manchester Evening News, they were saying that whilst Newcastle are interested in Scott McTominay, there's no plans to sell Scott McTominay because he's the youngest midfielder we've got. That's the second time I've heard this in the last few weeks. There's no plans to sell Scott McTominay because he's the youngest midfielder we've got. Well, whoop-de-doo. Well done in your passport. Well, I mean, what's that got to do with the price of milk? He's the youngest midfielder we've got. He's 27 this year. I mean, he's hardly in his teens, is he? I've never heard such a stupid reason for keeping Scott McTominay. He's the youngest midfielder we've got. I don't care if Fred's 35 and McTominay's 21. I'd still sell McTominay over Fred. I understand the circumstances of letting Fred go, but he actually does bring value to the squad, like yesterday and hopefully on Saturday. He actually can start games. Look at Spurs at home earlier in the season. He was brilliant. McTominay's had a dreadful, dreadful season. Really bad. I can't think of any games he's played well. He needs to be moved on. I don't see the point even from McTominay's point of view. What's your role at the team, mate? Like, you will never start games for us. You are never going to be good enough, I don't think. And a little bit part player. I mean, surely he's got to be knocking on the door. I mean, you know what? That's a good point. It's all right saying United don't have any plans to sell him, but Newcastle and other clubs want to buy him. At what point does professional pride kick in? At what point do you go and knock on the door and say, I want to leave? I mean, that's what I'm sort of hoping for this season from in the off season from some of these players. We are always lost on, are they for sale? Are they actually going to be sold? And actually, the player themselves should be knocking on the door and saying, I want to leave. As long as we can get a good price for Fred, selling him truthfully is best for both the player and the squad, says Kyle. Well, look, if Fred goes, obviously we've been linked to Declan Rice, we've been linked to Mason Mount, we've been linked to Rabiot, we've been linked to Sabitzer. So it looks to me like we're looking to bring two midfielders in. Two in, two out, maybe. I can see us keeping McTominay by the sounds of it, but we'll have to wait and see. On the incomings, as we said on the watch along last night, Mason Mount looked very, emotional at Stamford Bridge yesterday, probably saying goodbyes. The true story behind that is that Chelsea have made massive errors this season. Really, they should be keeping Mount and signing Rice. That was always what a lot of people thought. Honestly, there's a real chance that Man United could get Rice and Mount because Chelsea have I don't know what Chelsea are up to. It's a mess. It's not the club it was. I mean, Mason Mount shouldn't be leaving Chelsea. He's been there since he was a kid. But I think they've burnt so many bridges, pardon the pun, at Stamford Bridge, that that Mason Mount probably will leave. Now, again, today, speaking to somebody, some completely different source, from what I'm hearing, it's a done deal. That's what I was told today from somebody quite close to Chelsea. So, Mason Mount to Manchester United. And look, Liverpool want him. Arsenal want him. Whether you want him or not, that's a scoop. That is a scoop for United to go and get Mason Mount if Erik Ten Hag wants him. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with it. But Mason Mount does look like a deal that, he's not part of the England squad. Chelsea have got no more games. He's probably going to want to sort his future out very, very quickly. That could be our first signing of the summer. So keep your eye on Mason Mount. Goldbridge ball in full effect in the Sidemen match is needed. 60,000 capacity at the West Ham Stadium is mad. We need you there, says Nathan. I actually saw their tweet and replied with Wembley. Am I right, Pratt? What a Pratt I am. Of course, the London Stadium is not Wembley. I thought it was at Wembley. It's not. It's at the West Ham Stadium. I don't know whether I'll be involved. I think I was robbed last year of not winning it. I'd love to be back in. But look, if you check out my Instagram, the reason I've got this on, if you check my Instagram story, you'll see a guy who shouldn't be in a suit. He should be in a bloody kit playing. I played the game, and I should be playing the game. Check out my Instagram story at Goldbridge Mark. But I don't know whether I'll be involved, Nathan. I'd love to, but we'll have to wait and see. Fred is a better player, but we might be selling many homegrown talents this transfer window, so we might keep McTominay, says Nicholas. Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, just because of your passport, you get to stay. It's silly, isn't it? Sean, welcome to the Members Club. Sorry, he's been a member for 10 months. Thank you for being a member for 10 months. Looks like Rice to Arsenal, set to bid end of June, says CL11. Thunderstruck, says James. Yeah, Thunderstruck. A lot of you have watched it. I love it. On Declan Rice, I don't have any updates. I think that Arsenal have put a good case together for Declan Rice, and he could well end up going to Arsenal. I think Manchester United are pushing for that deal. I don't know where or how we're going to do this. I mean, look, I suppose the best thing to talk about is this story in the Telegraph here, because it will hit the nail on the head here. Mount is wanted by United, Liverpool and Arsenal. He's yet to make a final decision over his future, although he appears certain to leave Chelsea. That's in the Telegraph. Eric Ten Hag is pushing for Manchester United to sign Mount. He is understood to be confident that he can persuade Mount to join. If Mount joins, it would be a serious blow for Liverpool, in particular with Jurgen Klopp having identified him and McAllister as key players in his rebuild. But Ten Hag has frustrations about the uncertainty about Man United's ownership, and this is shared internally within the club. There are fears it will affect United's transfer plans. Well, there won't be an endless pot of money based on uncertainty on the sale. So maybe Declan Rice does end up going to Arsenal because he's their priority, whereas United are going, look, we want you, but we might have to wait a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to just wait and see with Declan Rice. I still think it'd be a good signing, but we'll have to see. Tyler Booth, also Genio Dest, says Frank, thank you very much. And Amma, please stop. Okay. There was a report that just came in just as I was going live, actually, about Harry Kane. It's coming from a London-based journalist, and they're basically saying that it's looking more likely that Harry Kane will stay at Manchester United. Stay at Spurs for another season. Therefore, obviously he won't be coming to Manchester United, and Man United are just basically accepting that Daniel Levy is not going to sell them Harry Kane. So, look, I know people out there I respect who want Man United to sign Harry Kane. I was talking to Ben Foster about it this morning in Tubes, and they were both saying, Harry Kane at Man United would be fantastic. In fact, Tubes said he'd love him at Chelsea. So I get all that, but unfortunately, the history, Spurs are Spurs, and we know what Spurs are like. If it was the effort they put into not selling players was put into the effort on winning trophies, they'd win everything. They're an absolute pain in the backside to deal with for transfers, and this is not going to be any different with Harry Kane. So we're going to have to start looking at alternatives. Hello, Mark. I know we got one more game to play, which is going to be our biggest game for years, but what is your best moment of the season? Mine is Casemiro's celebration against Chelsea away. This is Michael Southcombe. I think winning a trophy, mate. I know it's a bit boring, but it's been too long since we've won a trophy, and I think that although it wasn't the best game, actually final whistle known that we'd won a piece of silverware, I just think it resets the clock. That's it for me. Hi Mark, thanks for the show. What are we? Where are we with the sale? Is Qatar buying us? Says Serget. And Fabian, welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. Mark, I don't mind Fred moving on, but McTominay staying. I'm sorry, I prefer Fred all day long. He's absolutely clear of McTominay. Fred with Casemiro, says Ibsy. I think that with he should refuse to play if they destroy him again, says Robert McCormack. I don't know. I think he might be talking about Harry Kane. I think that the Barcelona away game in the new camp was very, very enjoyable as well. Gino says he's disappointed in Kane. There is one play here, just before I talk about Qatar. There is one play here from Harry Kane, and that is hand a transfer request in. Literally hand in a transfer request and say, I want to go. That's the only move he's got, but I don't think he'll do that. I don't think he will do that. And if he's going to do that, he's got to do it now. He's got to do it today. Like, Spurs haven't got any more games to play. England are playing in the middle of June. If Harry Kane is in his mindset of, you know what, I'm going to play for England and then I'm going to go away on holiday for a couple of days and then I'm going to, a couple of weeks and then I'll come back and make my mind up. United have got to go up yours. You do it now or you don't do it at all. And I'll tell you what, Harry, we're not taking you at 31. I don't care whether but I'm free. I don't care whether you're free. Lots of things are free and rubbish. Look at what people throw out. I don't want you for free in a year's time. I want a goal scorer now. And the goal scorer I get now could hit the ground running and your chance is gone. So if you want to come to Manchester United, it's now or never, mate. Hi Mark, would you not get Maddison over Mount? I don't rate Maddison, Eid. I don't. I think he's gobbed off all season about how Leicester aren't that bad. I think he could have done a lot more to keep Leicester up. I don't rate Maddison that much. I think he deserved to go to the World Cup. I think he had a good run at the start of the season. But I think he's a bit overhyped. I really don't think he is of the level of Bruno Fernandes or, Odegaard or Kevin De Bruyne. He's nowhere near that level. Nowhere near. And I actually think that Mount's had a bad season, but he's much better. He's got a much better engine, and he offers a lot more defensively, and that's what it is. You speaking to Ben obviously this morning on the show, and he was saying that, look, the thing about Mason Mount is it's just the work rate that he puts in that first phase. So look, I trust Ten Hag. I think Kane will stay with Spurs and leave next year for free with massive wages as Glazers out. It'd be interesting to see where he goes in a year's time. 31's not a good time to be a free agent, is he? But I don't care whether you think Maddison's better than Mount. Ten Hag doesn't. That's all that matters. You can't afford to wait till Keane after England, because if he has a good tournament at England, we all know what that does to his prices. We're not playing in a tournament, Nathan. We've just got a couple of friendlies. But yeah, I agree. It'd be too late to wait till the end of the month. Right, where are we at with Qatar? Well, one thing I just want to tell you, actually, by the way, I did tell you yesterday, we've got a fantastic interview coming out for you at 4 o'clock. Do not miss this. This is for the connoisseur Manchester United fan. This is for the fans out there that really care about what this club is all about. So we've got an interview with the head of youth development, Nick Cox, exclusively for the United Stand. 4 o'clock today, all about Garnacho, all about the promotion of youth, what's going on with the youth. Really good. I've already watched it. I watched it this morning. So check it out at 4 o'clock. Different type of interview, but I think you'll enjoy it. Mark, what do you think of Guerrero on a free as a backup to Casemiro, says Avanash? Few people have mentioned that. Not seen that United have been linked to him. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens with that. And yeah, it's a really good interview. Like, if you've got half an hour to spare at 4 o'clock, give it a watch. I really enjoyed it this morning. I was having a coffee when I got back from the football fill-in, and I was listening to it, and I thought I'd only listen to about 15 minutes, and I found myself just fascinated by, how the development goes, what the plan is for players, really interesting. Okay, so let's go. Coffee or tea today? It's 1-1, Albert. I've had one coffee and I've got a cup of tea at the moment, but I think tea's going to win. No tea, no coffee after 11 o'clock normally. I think Harry Kane wants to stay in London, but I don't win a trophy then. As simple as that. Right, let's get back to the sale story. So what's going on with the sale? I think we sometimes have to revisit this, sadly. What's going on with the sale is basically no sale is going to be announced this week. And there's hope that it will be announced next week. I don't know. But nothing's going to happen this week. Obviously, because of the FA Cup final. And the Glazers want to attend. Avram wants to attend. And then maybe next week we'll get an announcement on what's happening with the sale. That doesn't mean there won't be some information coming out this week. I spoke to somebody over the weekend, and they said to me that the trouble with this sale is that if the Glazers feel that they're going to go with Sir Jim, there's no sort of line in the sand from this process to say that Al Thani can't come back in and make another bid. Like, the Glazers have left this so open. They don't lock the doors. So even if the Glazers think they're going to go ahead with one, it doesn't stop somebody else coming in and going, there's another $500 million. So it's almost like the race that could never end, because they haven't set a finishing line. They just keep moving it back. And that's probably the best analogy of what's going on with this race to buy Man United. The Glazers haven't even set a finishing line. So, everyone's in the race, but they don't know when it's going to end. And I don't know whether there's not really a lot of confidence that even if the Glazers go, right, we're going with Sir Jim and we're staying, they wouldn't listen to Al Thani saying, well, there's another $500 million. So nothing's going to happen this week. And maybe something happens next week, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it wanders into June. I don't know. What Simon Stone said yesterday was very interesting. That that there is talk that Al Thani and Qatar could bid again, because there's still a feeling that Sir Jim Radcliffe's bid is the more preferred bidder. But Sergic says, unless the Qatar sale goes through, Erik Ten Hag won't have the resources he requires. And hi Mark, love the show. Could you wish my friend Natalie a happy birthday, 40 today? P.S. Get Kane, says Shane. Happy birthday to Natalie. I think with the sale itself, I don't know. But I would agree with that point that if we don't get a full sale and we don't get super wealth, I don't know how you can compete with the Manchester Cities and everybody else. So I just don't know. I don't know how that would work. But you know, I think we've got a massive week building up towards the FA Cup. I think there's numerous transfer stories that are going to just kick in now. And the sale is sort of the third story, isn't it? It's the most important story, but it's the third story because, look, I really wouldn't be surprised if in the next week we announced that Mason Mount's coming to Manchester United, or a deal's been done with Mason Mount, because the way he was behaving, the way he reacted at the end, it looked like he's made his mind up to leave Chelsea. And if he's leaving Chelsea, Man United are the favourites. Did you see what Roy Keane said about the goalkeeper, says Cameron? Yeah, I mean, look, Roy Keane's a legend. He's one of my favourite players of all time. I always say Keane. But you know what he said yesterday, I completely disagree with him. And this is the great thing about football, isn't it? You know, just because they're a legend or a hero doesn't mean you have to lap up everything they say. I've had this with plenty of ex-United players. I think some of them just talk nonsense. I do. I mean, De Gea... Roy Keane clearly doesn't rate De Gea. He's been going on about it for years. And it's nothing to do with passing out from the back with Keane. He just doesn't rate De Gea. Now, I can listen to a fan tell me about passing out from the back, but not rating him as a goalkeeper. It's bloody ridiculous. He's won the Golden Glove by a long way. We've conceded 9 goals at home all season. 9 goals in 19 games. And apparently he's a bad goalkeeper. I think Keane's a bad pundit there. I think that's ridiculous. It's just not backed up. You can't just say he's a bad keeper. You can say, oh, I want to replace him for something else, but he's not a bad keeper. And I think even those of you who would like to replace De Gea don't think he's a bad keeper, because I think that's ridiculous. He's not a bad goalkeeper. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. He might not be the type you want, and there is a type. I get that. But he's not a bad goalkeeper. And I think that, you know what, it comes down to the same stuff as it always does, doesn't it? It always seems to be the foreign players that get more abuse from the pundits than the British players do. You know, I can't believe that a goalkeeper... Didn't he say something along the lines of, look at them patting him on his back. He's just doing his job. Well, he's done his job very well, actually. But it amazes me how for the last couple of years it just feels like the media have jumped on David De Gea every opportunity they can, and yet we're paying 200 grand a week for an 80 million player who's our 4th choice centre back, and nothing ever gets said about that. And that for me is why I tune out of mainstream media, because it's a nonsense. You know, it really is. I went on Talk Sport last night for half an hour on the Gabby Bonglahor show with Jamie O'Hara. And he asked me about Anthony, and I just was like, but, you know, Anthony's had a good season. For a debut season, he's had a good season, and next season's the season that we're going to judge him. There are some United fans that aren't hot about Anthony. There's some like me who think there's a really good player there. I tell you what, he's the most hard-working winger we've got, and against Man City, Anthony's probably the most important player because of his work rate, but next season's when we judge him. I just think, you know, there's just weird... I don't know whether it's an ex-player thing where they just get bitter about certain things because they can't play anymore. I don't know, but it just feels like it jumps out like a sore thumb sometimes that they've clearly got an agenda with certain players. You see it all the time. And David De Gea is a very, very good goalkeeper. I understand why people might want a different type, but he ain't a bad goalkeeper. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. And our defence is why we've had a good season this year. Support for Vinicius Jr. Ideal time to try and persuade him to join us in the summer, says Sujit. I don't think Vinicius Jr. will be joining Manchester United this summer as much as I would like him to. I really don't. Right. We do 2 o'clock shows anyway, but you're going to get a lot more of these over the next few weeks with the summer transfer window kicking off and obviously the sale talks and everything else going on. So make sure you subscribe and smash a like. I'm on the channel at 8 o'clock tonight. Normal 8 o'clock show, normal 10 o'clock shows. Don't worry about that. We've got lots for you over the coming weeks and days. Don't forget, we've got the Dublin show a week tomorrow night in Dublin. I can't believe how soon it is, actually. I need to start bloody writing the show soon. If you want to be there a week tomorrow night, get your tickets. Dublin, it's going to be great. And do not miss the interview at 4 o'clock. Set your clock. 4 o'clock today. Exclusive interview on the United Stand with Head of Youth Development, Nick Cox. It's a really good interview. You'll really enjoy it. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you in a bit later, but don't miss out on the interview. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's a first, and we this is what we want to do on this channel. Speak to you in a bit.